social media, all it takes nowadays to spark up an online fight is to merely have an opinion. One opinion will cause many to spiral into a pit hole of anger where no one dialogues, only insults the person who has the unpopular or even the popular opinion regarding the latest trends in comic books, movies, or pulp culture. It makes sense given the circumstance. After all, acting tough behind the protective wall of the black mirror we all own and use on a daily basis makes it easy for anyone to jump right into a tirade of insults and threats. Again, just for having an opinion that they may disagree with. I decided to go against that notion. I've decided to start a video series where we discuss the hot topic issues within the comic book industry and pulp culture and provide you with another perspective. One of logic, reason, with just plain old dialogue between two people who have different opinions. My co-host and I will discuss the pulp culture topics at hand in a fun, engaging, and respectable manner. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy Friday.
Way to start things off.
Yeah, Halloweener. I like that. I like the reverse psychology. I like that. It's very unique, you know. Dislike and unsubscribe.
No, or
do it.
Don't hit that like button.
Yeah, don't hit that like button.
Subscribe.
And don't subscribe. What's up, Halloweener? And what's up, everyone? Typically I like to find a video and showcase it before we start live, but what happened was due to prior engagements, the show is going to be a short one. It's going to be an hour long. We're not going to go over the hour. So we just decided to just hit the live button and let's just go right at it and get started. And so but before we do that, Kyle, how was your week? How's everything?
Oh, pretty good, you know, going around, getting comic books, having fun, reading them.
Tell me about
it. I just picked up this awesome set. It is the entire Crisis on Infinite Earths run.
Dude, the whole original run?
All of them. So yeah, all of them.
Dude.
Yeah, number 1 right there, and then all the key issues.
Even the Superman, Supergirl. You bastard.
Yeah, and it's a pretty nice copy too. I wouldn't say it's like perfect, but it's nice. And then also the
nice, dude, very nice.
And then the next one.
Yeah, cool. Oh, that's a cover. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So that was one of the ones that I really, because I haven't read the story yet, and so that I wanted to get so that I can go and read the whole story, because as far as I could tell and from what I've heard from everybody, it's like this is pretty much the only real Crisis multiversal storyline that's actually like good. most of them are all most of them are all pretty much just retreads of this one, or stuff like that. The only one that I do also that's next on the list now that I have all of these is Secret Wars.
Okay,
I want to try to get all the Secret
You can try to get those too.
Yeah, so even the number 8 I think is first Spider-Man black suit.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man, so, good luck on that one. Those are especially number 8. Is if you do find number 8, you normally will always find it with the price all the way up.
Well, yeah.
So, we'll see how that works out for you.
I want to also compare it, the two, and see, which is the better story, and then which do you think was more impactful?
Well, I mean, you gotta look at what Secret Wars was as opposed to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Secret Wars was something I think Jim Shooter came up with as like something that was cool, unique. It was the first crossover event officially by a publisher. Right. And Crisis on Infinite Earths was something that DC, the company itself, decided to do because they had so many books,
right?
So many various versions of Superman, Batman, and so on and so forth, that they decided to streamline everything, and that's what caused that's the reason why they did that particular storyline. So there's various. So they probably saw the success of Secret Wars, right? I would imagine. And then they say, okay, well, if it worked for
you're cutting in and out a lot.
Oh, for crying out loud! Are you serious? I think this might.
You're kind of.
Man.
Yeah, you lost. Yeah, you're kind of all glitchy, unless it's not seeing it from anybody else. But yeah.
See, and that's the weird thing. I can hear myself, but you're hearing me all glitchy, which is what's even that's the most annoying part of all this. Is that as I talk to you, I can still hear myself fine. What about now?
You're fine right now.
Okay. All right. I guess I can't move a lot. Halloweener says Secret Wars was written to sell a toy line. Thank you about that. Right. So there you go. There's that.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying I guess more along the lines of which had the bigger impact in terms of was Spider-Man getting the origin of his black suit versus the death of Supergirl and Barry Allen, which had the longer lasting or notable effect.
Yeah, it has. Even to this day, it's still one of the moments, right? It's you look at death of Gwen Stacy, which is one, and then now you have the Supergirl death.
Right.
Well, that's great, anyway, man. That's awesome that you got those, you bastard. But
I actually got half off because my friend bought the other half for me because it was my birthday.
Very nice. Very nice. So that's even better.
Yeah.
It's a lot sweeter. Well, I guess we could get right to the topic then at hand. And that is,
all right,
who grifts the grifters? And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because we were kind of stuck as to what we wanted to talk about this week. So we're going to just have a chill show tonight and just talk about our comic books or other little small things here and there regarding pop culture or comic books. But then I saw a video from a channel called Your Boy Zach, and it's run by a guy named Richard Meyer. Say what you will about the man. I still like listening to his videos because he still has a lot of good info in those videos. And he was talking about Critical Drinker. And if you guys don't know who Critical Drinker is, he's a YouTuber who critiques movies and TV shows. Very funny as well. I do love his videos when he talks like the drunken Scotsman reviewing the movie. It's very entertaining, very very cool. But I guess Your Boy Zach has been, I guess for lack of a better term, attacking them, I guess, and pointing out things that they're doing because some movies are, I guess Hollywood is starting to learn from the mistakes that they've been making for the past 8+ years, 10+ years of turning out movies that didn't hit. Let's just be nice about it. And so, of course, what I call the hate grifters of the internet are the ones who have successful YouTube channels that pretty much just bash everything that Disney, Marvel, MCU have been putting out for a long time, and also the DC, Warner Media, and the quote unquote woke agenda, and so on and so forth. And they found great success in that, and I'll admit I listened to some of those channels. I used to listen to a lot of it back in the day because, Henry Rollins, the one of the main punk rock, forefathers, in an interview in a documentary about the history of punk music. What's up, Justin?
Hey.
He said something that was very not telling, but very 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 observational, which is punk music was one person telling the establishment F you out loud, and a whole group of people behind them going, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it. I'm glad you said it. And then everyone flooded in. And I feel that's what happened with the hate grifters that became popular, is that they started a YouTube channel. They said, this sucks. And everyone was like, you know what? I was thinking that, And I didn't want to say it, but
You're
I'm glad you
right.
said it. Yeah, you're right. And it's fine. That's fine. You know, that's what I love about the YouTube sphere, is that now everyone has a voice, and if you're really good at observing things and pointing them out, you can potentially gain a large audience, which is great. That's awesome, because that pretty much destroyed the gatekeeping, you know, critiques of newspaper columnists and, you know, Entertainment Tonight critics and stuff like that. Now you had actual uh, lovers of cinema, lovers of comic books, lovers of, you know, novels, whatever the case, having a channel, speaking their minds, giving their opinions, and also they're knowledgeable too. They're not just, you know, people talking out of their, you know, out of their behinds. I'm trying to be PG here tonight. And so a lot
when
of
have you ever tried to be PG?
Yeah, I know, but I'm working on that. Because I found out the other day that sometimes my nieces and nephews watch this.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. They don't watch the live stream; they watch the replay. So when they told me that, I was like, oh great, I gotta watch myself now. So so I'm doing my best to stay PG. But again, going back to what I was saying, it's fine. I listen to some of those channels, but then after a while, right after about a year or two listening to these channels, it got tiresome, and it got to the point where like I'll share another personal story real quick.
Story time.
Yeah, where I was at a party, right, and it was a group of friends of mine, and we're all talking about The Last Jedi.
Oh man.
And so, you know, very heated conversation, right? And all that, and you know, we're going back and forth, you know, very, very, like I said, very heated, and a lot of sparks going off, but no fights, right? Thankfully, we're all friends, you know, we're cool. But then one person said something that pretty much shut everyone up, and that includes me. And this person was just listening to us. He was just observing the conversation we're having. And we're going back and forth. Oh, you know, people were trying to excuse this scene. They're, you know, you know, it was just a heated, like, think of it like the way the Canadian government talk to each other when they're debating, right? So this one guy has a beer. He's kind of buzzed. He's kind of just watching. And I can see this guy just kind of watching. He's kind of doing like a tennis match, just like this, you know, the whole time. And then finally, like in between, you know, the points that we were trying to give, you know, to one another about why it sucked, why it's great, why it's this, why it's that, he finally just says, you know, why don't you guys make your own shit? Oh, see, I broke.
Come on, dude.
Dang it, man.
You just said.
I know. See, I'm sorry, my nieces and nephews, if you watched it. I should say sorry to the parents. Sorry, brother-in-law and sister-in-law for cussing. But that's what he said. Why don't you guys make up your own stuff instead of just being here talking like a bunch of nerds that have nothing to show for it? And boom, it was like, whoa, yeah, you're right. Why don't I make my own Star Wars and do it, quote unquote, right? Do it the right way. And so after that, that's when it finally dawned on me. You know what? This guy who I don't know who joined the conversation is absolutely right. And of course, it got awkward because who is this guy? What's he doing? I don't know this guy, that kind of thing, right? And so that's when I decided to focus on my own stuff, Ghetto Dragon, you know, later on, you know, and then at the time, a Reset Protocol. And of course, other stories that I wanted to get out there. And so yeah, Halloweener hits it right in. It's so much easier to demolish than to be an architect. Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Well, because it doesn't require any real thought or creativity or anything like that. You know, it's, you know, and plus anything you know, like if you ever try to like do something, of course it's going to be easier to destroy something than to build something up.
It always is easier to destroy. Absolutely. And so, like I said, going back to, I watched those channels. There were a lot of the time they're entertaining because a lot of points they presented during their live streams or their videos were on point. And it's like, yeah, that's on point. It's terrible in terms of plot. It's terrible in terms of delivery. It's terrible at the fact that there is an agenda, right? It's obvious. Yeah. I started noticing it back in early, I think 2012, when I was still kind of buying comics, mainstream superhero comics mainly. And I realized maybe I'm out of the demographic. Maybe I reached the age where I'm outside the targeted audience, right? Which is fine. Yeah. That's fine. That's within the right of the publishers. When they say, no, we make books between the ages that we sell them, and we sell them between the ages of 18 to 25. And I was 27. So I was like, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for me to just like,
can't be a kid at heart.
Yeah. But the point is that, okay, fine. But then of course, after about a year or two, then I go, wait a minute. Okay, you guys are still doing this. Why aren't, again, and I became the guy at the party. Why aren't you doing anything? Why don't you try to do something? And so, as much as Eric July may have written a terrible rookie book in ISOM 1 and 2, he at least made a book.
Yeah.
He at least gave it a shot. He at least put his money where his mouth is and did it. So kudos to him for that. And recently, Yellow Flash, he's also another one of these what I call hate grifters who just utilize, their channel as being someone who just craps on everything, but at least he's making a comic book. So it's great. At least he's doing something. And again, putting his money where his mouth is. So I ask you this question after this preamble of mine.
Yes, long. 15
at
minutes.
What point? At what point do you think critique becomes grifting, or do you prefer? Are you the same way as me, Kyle? Do you like, okay, that's great, you have these points, but what are you doing that's going to counter this quote unquote culture war that they utilize to, keep their channel relevant?
Well, I think, in terms of the hate grifting and all of that, it's very hard to say in terms of, aspects of it, because you look at like, the movies and the TV shows that are coming out, and part of the video that was that you mentioned early on, he mentioned in the video that was Drunk 3PO, that was, he waited for like his audience to give their reaction before he came out with his review. And, just so that he could just kind of basically jump on the bandwagon without having to have a separate idea, I guess you would say.
Right. That goes against what his audience expects from his channel.
Yeah. Which in that aspect, yes, I would, but that's not like necessarily hate grifting at that point, because he's just, jumping on the bandwagon and making sure that he's satisfying his audience, I guess, from that perspective. Which, I mean, that's exactly what they're trying to do, is they're just satisfying the audience that they're catering to, which there's nothing wrong with that per se. But I guess the line comes where it's like, okay, well, are you going to try to be a objective critic, or are you, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being an objective critic. You can be an objective critic and just go and talk about everything you want to talk about. I think, though, that it's hard to say that, though, because it's not like the movies and the TV shows are doing anybody any favors for the actual content that they're putting out. Because you look at, you look at some of these movies and these TV shows where they'll put out a trailer, and it will, in the trailer, it will have certain themes or certain ideas or something like that. And, you see that and you have one reaction, and then you have the actors and the actresses on press tours saying the same thing. They're saying, the same tune, and you see other articles and stuff being written in the same fashion. But then when you actually go and see the movie, it's completely different, and it's not what it says. So I don't necessarily blame all of the YouTubers and like all those who you say would be hate grifting if all that they were given as information before watching it was all of this, if everybody was saying that it was blue, but it actually turned out to be red, then yeah, of course I'm going to be saying, oh yeah, it's a blue movie. But in actuality, it's a red movie in terms of, whatever you want to say.
So you're saying that the studios in Hollywood are at fault for that?
I think partly at fault. I think they're definitely partly at fault, because you look at any other type of medium that they would give you some sort of preview to what, like you look at books or something like novels and stuff like that. You're not going to sit there. I mean, some people do, and sit and read the entire book, and decide if you want to actually like buy it, I guess you would say. You look at the cover, and obviously people say, oh, you should never judge a book by its cover. And so then usually, you'll go and read the synopsis that's like on the back of the book. And then that should tell you whether or not, you want to pick up the book. And it's the same with the trailers and stuff like that. And even in comic books, obviously people buy stuff for the covers, which
it's probably the only industry where we do judge a book by its cover.
Yes, exactly. That's, that's like pretty much one of the number one reasons why people buy the book is because of the cover.
Well, let me ask you is, okay, I get all that. Yeah, good points. But what about something that is announced or the trailer drops and they automatically just crap on it without even watching the movie because they think it's a girl boss movie or it's a woke movie or whatever the case may be? Don't you think that kind of hurts the cultivation of keeping quality work alive, considering the fact that, like, for instance, Furiosa, I heard was really good. It was actually very surprisingly good. But the reason why a lot of people didn't watch is because, again, these hate grifters, they have a lot of sway. They have a lot of influence. They have millions of subscribers, and that adds up eventually. If this person says it's crap, then I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to bother. You think that hurts it, or what do you think? Or do you think that doesn't even matter?
Well, I think definitely, no matter what, criticism should be accepted. At least in terms of, like, if everybody praises it all the time and everything like that, with nothing given any sort of criticism and stuff like that, then everything's going to get really boring really fast. So criticism has to be there in some shape or form.
Well, yeah, but you gotta watch the film, though. You gotta read
that's
the book.
True. Yes, but like, I don't know. I'm under the camp of like
okay, I'll give you an example before you share that thought. I remember about a year or two ago, there was a story that the Joker got pregnant. Now, the chat, if you guys are listening in the chat, remind me, if you guys know off the top of your head, remind me which issue that was. But I remember they took that panel of Joker being pregnant, right, and is about to give birth to a baby, which is ridiculous in itself. But again, it's like, okay, where's the context? Where did this come from? Because all I saw in the post was, oh, DC Comics, man, like, they got woke. They're gonna go broke. But they didn't say, okay, is this an entire issue of a story? Is this a storyline? And it turns out, as I did my own research, it turns out it was a one of those like side stories that were like 3-4 pages long at the end of a book, the end of an issue, and it had nothing to do with continuity, had nothing to do with the main stories. It was just a one offshoot side story that DC is known to do from time to time, which is they have the issue and then they have a little like 3-4 page short story that's totally separate from the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean. It's like, okay, well, how far do you take it? Because granted, I'm not a fan of that. Like, I didn't care. I wasn't gonna go, I'm gonna go buy this book now. It was more like, oh, that's a dumb idea, but there's gotta be a reason behind it, right? There's gotta be a reason why the Joker was pregnant and about to have a baby.
I mean, you look at it from the standpoint of, well, that made you look at the book twice, and so would you have actually, gone to go and at least pick up the book to flip through it to see what it was and read the story? So
no, not for me.
But I mean, But it intrigued you. All that hate grifting and all that stuff did intrigue you enough.
It didn't intrigue me. It was more like, well, where's the context here? Yeah, you could share a panel and say, oh, DC's over, it's done, they're woke, they're going broke. And it's like, okay, where did that panel come from? What issue did it come? Is it part of a main storyline? Are they just going to go with it all the way through? Is this going to be like a 20 issue storyline? That kind of deal. But it wasn't. And that's what I mean. Like it's again, it's fine. I get it, but at the same time, my main gripe with this personally is the lack of like you said here, like Hallwinner says here, creating an alternative, the lack of alternative choices. And what I mean by lack of alternative choices, I'm talking like there are alternative choices, but the people, the readers or listeners and viewers of these channels, it seems like they only want to hear someone complain about it as opposed to them finding something else to fill that void and supporting a new creator that could potentially fill that void.
Yeah.
So I get it. Star Wars, gone. It's over. Yeah. George Lucas Star Wars, peak. We're never going to go back to that good again, right? We're never going to ride that mountain high, right? It's over. Those days are gone. Disney Star Wars, even though they don't admit to it outright, it's plain to see they don't want me or you to watch Star Wars anymore.
Yeah.
They don't want us to watch Star Wars anymore. And I'm not talking about white cis males either. I'm talking about the regular casual viewer. I'm a fan of Star Wars, but I'm not that big of a fan of Star Wars if you catch my drift. I'm not waiting in line to watch Star Wars. I never did that.
I'm a big
okay,
fan
and that's
of Star Wars.
great. You that's you, but me personally, it's more like, I could go on a Sunday afternoon and watch it. I don't have to be the first one there opening night. You know what I mean? So, and so when I going back to the guy at that party, at the same time too, when episode 2 came out, from the prequels, I fell out of love with Star Wars, even when George Lucas owned it, because guys, Kyle and I have gone to many fights about this, but we'll start it here now. I loathe the prequels. The prequels suck. They suck.
No.
Fine.
They have their issues. I admit they have.
No issues. It's not they don't have issues. They suck.
No.
They're terrible. Well, anyways,
you're comparing it to like the sequel trilogy, then if you're comparing it to the original trilogy,
I'm not comparing it to anything. I'm just it's more of its own weight, because again, 2002, right? 2002, 2003 when
99, 2002 and 2000.
Okay, 2002, right? Attack of the Clones. I'm excited. Hell yeah, Clone Wars. I'm ready. Let's do this, right? I get in there, and by the end of the movie, I literally tell all my Star Wars friends, this sucked. I can't believe you guys think this is good. This is terrible. And like, what movie did you guys watch? Because this is terrible. No, it was not, Kyle. It was not. But I fell out of love with Star Wars, right? But instead of complaining or, oh, I can't believe it, I just moved on. And I think that's the difference between a lot of people and the two different kinds of people, right? Two different kinds of groups. Ones who can't believe what they loved has changed, and so they want to hope, right? The hopium. They hope it goes back to normal, quote unquote.
Yes.
And then you have those on the other side, like myself, who just go, you know what? Not for me. Have fun. I'm out of here. I'm going to go look for something else, somewhere else. And I think that's why even though, like I said, I still enjoyed watching a lot of those channels, and I enjoy, because a lot of them are funny. They're very witty and funny. But I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm good. I'm out of here. And my friend, who's a big Star Wars fan to this day, whenever he and I talk about it, he always tells me, I respect the fact that you actually just left. Right. I prefer people just leaving than the people who stick behind and just crap on everything when it comes out. Because I still like it. I still enjoy it because I don't hype it up in my head like I used to before. And that's like, but I respect the fact that you just went like, nope, I'm done. Bye. I'm out. So that's probably why I can never really get into it.
Well, I think that's part of the reason why everybody.
Was it a Clayface baby or something? Oh, he's talking about the comic book. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't know who Joker gave birth to be honest. I didn't care. I really didn't care at that point. But go ahead, Kyle.
But in terms of like the trying to get, in terms of the Star Wars and the hate grifters, I think specifically for Star Wars, a lot of them want the voice to be heard, so that way that it could reach studio execs and and they can make the change, because obviously they go and not watch the movies and stuff like that, and so the theory is that if they stop spending the money, then the money will stop talking, and then that will make change. And so I think it's a double-edged sword. I think there's a lot of hate grifting in terms of like just jumping on the bandwagon and just hating on something because that's the cool thing to do, I guess you would say. But I do think that there is some aspect of it that is like, these people that follow them, they actually do feel this way, and they feel strongly towards the thing that they love, and they want to see change, but obviously they don't have either the capability or the voice of their own, and so then they want to, I guess, join in with somebody who does have a more substantial voice in a community.
Right.
And it's
no, you're right. Good point.
It's not like anything different from any other type of I mean, we're not going to get political here, but I mean, it's the same thing with politics. People will go and support whoever politician that they want because they feel that person has a voice for them.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
And so I think that's one of the main reasons. Like, they could be catering to their audience, specifically just to cater their audience, but that's probably because their audience feels a certain way towards an ideal or a feeling towards their property or favorite movie or TV show or whatever. And, as I mentioned before, it's the studios and everybody like that seem like they have their own people that they tout as their spokesperson and that they want to constantly, push forward. So it's just a constant battle between the two.
Yeah, and that's the issue. It's a battle, and that's the unfortunate thing, because you mentioned about how they feel it, and I think we saw that a little bit of that with the Snyder Cut, the Snyder Bros who really organized themselves and like pushed it to the point where it got to the point where the Warner Bros was like, okay, we'll give this guy an extra $1 million or whatever. I don't know how much it was. Yeah, and so he could finish the story. This movie, but ended up the way. I guess, in other words, and again, no, don't come at me, bro. Right? I'm talking about the Snyder Bros out there. It exposed Zack Snyder as being a very terrible storyteller and a great visual director. He is absolutely. He has a great eye visually, but when it comes to telling the story, talk about stinking up the place. He's not that great. And again, no hate towards the fans of his. I get it. Everyone, Kyle here loves the prequels, and I think they suck. And yet we're still friends. We're still cool with each
sometimes.
Other. Sometimes. But going back to the battle thing, it's true, because now it's obvious that they don't listen to the fans anymore. And back in the day, again, in the 90s, early 2000s, producers, editors in comic books would listen to the fans in the letters page, or what is the thing that they do when they preview a movie and they do surveys, like what do they call it? Test audience scores?
Yeah, pre-screen
Test audience scores. And they would obviously not completely, change the course of the product they're producing, because they understand that we are the storytellers. We tell the stories, you guys consume them. Just because you consume them doesn't make you an expert in telling stories. So they understand, okay, we're just going to take the majority problems they have and we're going to try to fix it before we send it out to the wide audience.
Right.
And a lot of the time, it actually does work in their favor. A lot of movies famously changed, endings and certain scenes for the better of the movie.
Yes. Well, I mean, one of the examples, I know you have a slight theory, conspiracy theory about it. I'm going to go with the assumption that it was true. You know what I'm going with this?
No. I'm curious now. Go ahead.
The Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, right. Yes.
I'm under the camp that it was the people and all the outrage from when they made that trailer of the horrible animated Sonic the Hedgehog, and
or
then
the real life looking
real life version, and then after that they heard everybody say how terrible it was, and then I think somebody made a mock-up of what it should look like.
Yeah, and it went viral. Yeah,
and went viral, and then people, and then who was it? So no, who is the?
I don't know the name of the studio, but
anyway, whoever it was, it's like, okay, I guess we'll change it, and it made like $1 billion.
It made $1 billion. It's the third movie now, right?
There's 3 movies, the franchise, and they said that they have no plans on stopping. Exactly. So it's like, I mean, you have a theory for that though, but
yeah, I think it was pre-planned. It was done on purpose, and then it worked to fair. But again, I can't prove that. I can't prove that.
That aside, say it was that way. That's a very notable, like cause and effect that people point to.
And it's very simple. They listened to the audience for the most part, and then they fixed it, and the movie became a huge success. And Halloweener here says Star Wars New Hope was saved in the editing room by George Lucas' wife after a disastrous pre-screen. Absolutely right. And that's the key there, is that they cut off that line for whatever reason. Who knows what the reason is? Because we're not in those boardrooms, in those meetings talking about audience reaction. You look at Scooby-Doo, right? The Scooby-Doo cartoon series on HBO Max. Everyone hated that show, but yet they renewed it for a second season. And the reason why is because executives today don't care if the attention is negative, as long as it's getting attention. And that's another problem too. It's like, just because you get attention and it's negative doesn't mean it's a good thing, right? The whole, bad publicity is still good publicity is like, no. In some instances, no, it's not.
Well, so then that could, from the conspiratorial mindset, do you think that possibly the studios create these trailers or tell their actors and stuff to say certain things on the red carpet to fuel these hate grifters?
Maybe they do now, some of them. But I don't know. I just feel like at this point they would know at this point it's not working. Let's stop doing that. Because She-Hulk was another prime example of that.
Yeah.
When She-Hulk came out and it bombed, right? No one liked it except for a few people, right? And so when it bombed, essentially the head writer of the freaking show went on record saying, "Yeah, we wrote a purposely bad show to you dunk on the chuds." And it's like, what? What? And that's what caused the further split between what's the studio and the audience, because without the audience, the studio won't survive. And and then another story is Kevin Feige, right? Kevin Feige saw Daredevil Born Again and went, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And he had to do a complete reshoot because he understood, if we put this out, it's going to further alienate the little fans we have left. Specifically for Daredevil, because Daredevil was a hit show for Netflix when it was on Netflix.
Oh yeah, it still is.
Yeah, people still watch it.
Yeah.
So,
well, and then whatever they're doing with Blade, now that's been in development.
That's over, dude. That ship sailed, man. That ship has sailed. It's gone. That Blade movie is done. It's dead on arrival. Not because it's quote unquote woke. It's because of the constant rewrites. And that's always a bad sign for production, is when you have constant rewrites. Bad sign.
Right.
Bad sign. And so I guess the whole point of being is that it's a little bit of both, right? The battle that's been ensuing is that the studio gets mad at the fandom who speak out on social media, and now that social media is so big, everyone now has a voice and can be heard.
Yeah.
And of course, what happens when thin-skinned creators hear the critique? They get defensive. They start insulting you, and it just gets worse because again, there's no tactfulness behind, like, going back to the She-Hulk example. I was really upset when they pretty much went out on record saying, yeah, we wrote this so we could dunk on the chuds, instead of saying, you know what, guys, we tried to do something different and it didn't work out. Stick with us for the second season, and I guarantee you we'll fix it. And that's it. That's all they had to do in order to keep that core audience be like, okay, you know what, I'll give the second season a shot if that's the case. But they didn't. And so that's what fuels the hate grifters to do more stuff that gets people more riled up. And Benjamin Soto here said that I think of hate grifting as a form of entertainment. It is a foul or kayfabe movement to get behind. The grifters see it as a job. It's about the numbers, whether subscribers or dollars. And that's
of course.
It's become big business. It really has become big business for these people.
Of course. Everybody, everybody, that's the one, that's one of the main things that like sells is conflict, and and wanting all of this disparity between everybody. Not disparity, what's the word I was looking for? Aggression and dissension and whatever. People want drama. That's that's the whole point. There's a whole category of movies and TV shows called drama specifically for that.
Absolutely. Yep. And it sells, dude. It brings people to the table and want to watch, because people like watching cars crash. And that's what the hate grifting industry has become, is they got to keep that up, because that's what keeps them in, that's what keeps the lights on their end. Well, I'm just wondering what will happen, or how they will change their tune once movies start getting good again. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying, what if they start getting good again? Like, I'm talking about the shows, I'm talking about the movies. What will happen then? Are they going to do nothing but positive reviews? Are they going to just find anything to like talk smack on? What is it that they're going to do here when that does happen? Because it might happen sooner than later, because there's only so far you can go when you make a string of terrible movies that bomb box office wise or ratings wise.
The only thing that I can think of movies that consistently were like good, at least, was a good run, most of the run of Marvel movies. You would see, I think there was like, you had like Guardians of the Galaxy, and you had like Iron Man and all that stuff, and you had consistently at least good, at least an average good movie that you could go to. But yet there were still people that were critical of it, and people still found flaws in the movies and stuff like that. But I think a lot more of them were like more tactful in the way that they presented their evidence, and more respectful. And I think that even if now movies start and TV shows start to get better in their quality, there's still going to be people that have issues with them, have issues with content.
Right. Yeah.
And so,
will the channels at the size that they are now stay the same? Is my question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not entirely sure what will happen. I think that something else will come along, most likely, and then they'll all gravitate towards that, or they'll all switch to something else.
Right, you're probably right. Yeah.
So, right now, it's a current thing to hate on the movies and TV shows and stuff like that. Who knows? Maybe, I don't know, like magazines or something like that become more popular, and then everybody switches to magazines. It's just like or streaming or something like that. People will go and people are still hate on streaming shows and stuff, but
really,
I don't know.
Which ones? Oh, you're talking about the Disney Plus?
There's still streaming shows. Yeah, there's streaming shows that I've seen that are, I guess besides Disney Plus.
Well, right now, Agatha, whatever the name of the show is the one gaining the most hate right now because of how woke it is and whatnot. And again, for me personally, after Endgame, I was done with the MCU. I wasn't going to even attempt to watch what they were going to do after. I tried the Winter Soldier and Falcon series.
Yeah.
Expecting, like you mentioned earlier, red, but I got blue instead. And so I decided, you know what? Okay, they're not going to do what I think they're going to do. And somehow I'm out of here. And I haven't looked back since.
Right. I think Halloweener, he just commented something that really helps.
There will always be a demand for people to bitch about something because misery loves company, and it's really just an outlet to vent often unrelated frustrations with life.
Yeah. And that kind of goes into what you mentioned before, or how we mentioned before, how everybody has a voice now, or at least an outlet to a voice,
right? Yeah.
And you look at before YouTube, before Twitter, and all that stuff. My dad always said that if you had a crazy person come up with you just spouting off nonsense, back in the day, the only people that would hear about it was in a 25-mile radius, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now with Twitter and everything like that, you spout off the same nonsense or stupid stuff all the time. Now billions of people will hear it all around the world.
Absolutely.
So I think it's just in terms of this new dynamic and new world that we live in.
Freaking Freddy, you got to put me on the spot, huh? Arms. JJ Arms. Yes, thank you, Ben. Ben saved me.
What's this all about?
I was in the 656 stream and they were talking about JJ Arms. I don't know if you ever heard of him or not.
No.
Very famous private investigator. He had no hands and had claws as hands.
Claws?
Yes, claws. And he would use guns and rifles with the claws too. And he had like a gun hand.
What does this have to do with anything?
No, I was just saying because Freddie brought it up. He's quizzing me.
Okay.
So, I see. Thank you, Freddie, for making me lose my train of thought. I appreciate it.
I was talking about people having a voice now and how it used to.
Yeah, and a double-edged sword, right? It's great in one instance because you have people who normally wouldn't have the access to, like, say, a magazine or a newspaper column or even a TV show like Siskel and Ebert used to have when they were alive on ABC every Sunday night, ABC 7:30 p.m. for half hour. Siskel and Ebert will go on the show and review 3 or 4 movies, and they would talk about why it was good, or not, why they enjoyed it, and why it was good and why they didn't, and all that stuff. And then by the end of it, they would say thumbs up or thumbs down, depending on what they liked. And sometimes it got juicy because they would actually argue in the show. And then they would argue to the commercial break. So they would be in the middle of an argument, and then they would just cut to commercial break because obviously they have to pay, the sponsors, right? So now it's everywhere. Now everyone, like you said, has a voice. And it's just it's a lot harder to sift through those voices, but I think now it's best to start teaching yourself how to sift through those voices and know what you like and know what you don't like. I personally would recommend the listeners of those channels. I'm not saying you should stop listening to them because I can't control you, obviously.
Right.
You could listen to whatever you want, but I suggest you look for alternatives. You loved old George Lucas Star Wars? Find new writers and new creators who are writing stuff like Star Wars in their own comics, their own TV shows. There's a lot of content on YouTube now of people doing their own thing.
Right.
support those artists. Don't rely too much on the corporate owned IPs anymore, because it's apparent and it's plain to see now they don't care about you. They never will, until the guard changes, which could happen. The new board of directors or a new producer may get a promotion and start greenlighting stuff that's actually good and a quality work, but we can't wait on that. There's a whole bunch of stuff you could pick out in the indie scene that can fill that void. And again, that's hard to also find out too, because hey, sometimes you pick up a lot of indie stuff and you're like, this is not what I expected.
Right. It's like, oh man.
And I get that. I totally get that, because I'm in that part of that sphere too. But I'm glad that I did look elsewhere, because I did find a lot of quality stuff outside of Star Wars when I fell out of love with Star Wars back in 2002. I looked for other sci-fi stuff. I looked for other action movies. I looked for other up and coming talent, right, to have their own YouTube channels or their own Vimeo channels, because there's a lot of Vimeo. Believe it or not, there's a lot of good stuff on Vimeo. If you believe it, Vimeo is another video service like YouTube, but it's more targeted towards filmmakers, up and coming filmmakers, and all that stuff. And it's sometimes a lot of it is really cool short movies. And so I follow a few people there, and I kind of hope one day I see a Kickstarter from them or an Indiegogo from them to raise money for a feature movie or another short that they could sell to film festivals, because that's how you make movies nowadays. Is that you make your short, a proof of concept, you go to film festivals, and you hope you find producers who can bankroll a full-length feature.
Yeah.
And there's all these avenues now, right? There's Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, where you could show your movie there.
There's a billion streaming services.
Yeah, and so it's hard now because everything's so decentralized. So you have no backing of marketing and promotion, which is the key factor of how to get people's attention to your stuff. And so I just say, hey, look, at some point there's got to be a breaking point, for lack of a better another word, where enough is enough, and you got to find something that's going to quench of like, I want to read a good story. You got to look for it. Unfortunately, you got to look for it. No one, the days of, watching the TV show and you see a commercial for a movie, those days are gone. You're only going to see it for the corporate owned movies. You're not going to see a commercial for, my name is Julius Freeman. If you like martial arts and comic books, pick up the Good Old Dragon. That's impossible, right? Because that's so expensive to buy airtime to promote your comic book. Or if you're a filmmaker, an independent filmmaker, that's going to be hard too, to get a commercial for your trailer to play during the commercial break of a TV show.
Unless you want to spend $20 million to have 10 seconds on the Super Bowl trailer.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the landscape that we're living now. It's that it's a great time to be an indie creator, but it's also a bad time because it does involve money to market and promote your stuff to people who are looking for new materials to consume. But right now, if the cream always rises to the top. So if your stuff is top notch, word of mouth is always the go-to and always the key to growth.
Right.
So
it's like, come on, you guys are
freaking Freddy.
I would hope you guys are independent thinkers and not just going and jumping on the bandwagon on every single thing that happens.
Hey, whoa. What does that mean?
It means from the perspective of you can do your own research and you can be able to make your own determinations of whether or not you want to go and read that certain thing.
Oh, okay.
That certain thing.
I thought you were talking about the viewers of those hate grifting shows, because I watched that.
No.
Am I not a free thinker?
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about the chat, the people who watch the show, everybody. You're not just defined by the person that you watch. You're not defined by just what they say. Like you said, word of mouth. And do your own research in the thing that you want to see. It's like, well, look at all the different avenues that you can see. There's it's not just the people on YouTube that have the only comments and only opinions that you can ever look at,
Right. Yeah.
There's plenty of other people and plenty of other things. If you really want to, go and look at both. Look at the hate grifter on one side and the other on the other side, and say saying one saying it's terrible, one saying it's good, and compare notes and see, okay, well, I'll make the determination myself based off of those pro cons list, maybe. And
yeah,
so,
and also you got to know yourself as well to know what you like and what you don't like. And I remember when South Park the movie came out, I had a friend who I trusted his word because he and I saw eye to eye in a lot of the content that came out at the time, movies and TV shows. So he went to see South Park the movie before I did, and he came back and reported that it was a terrible movie. He didn't find it funny. He thought it was the stupidest thing he'd ever seen.
sure.
And so I took his word for it and never watched it until one day when it was out for rental. I was like, you know what? I still like the show, so I might as well give it a shot, And so I watched it, and I was really mad at him because I was like, dude, this is the best movie I've ever seen. What the hell were you talking about? And that's when I learned that everyone has their own taste. Everyone has their own preference. He just didn't like the humor because he thought it was he was mean-spirited. That's what he told me. Well, it was just mean-spirited. And I was like, dude, this is great. That's it's right up my alley.
Right. Who among us does not have their own guilty pleasure movie or TV show or something that, I can recognize? Yes, I know this is a terrible, horrible, badly directed, badly acted, whatever it is. I still love it anyway.
Howard the Duck, and Kyle has the prequels.
Well, there's a lot more people in my camp than there is in your camp.
Oh, no, dude. I know for a fact the reason why your camp likes the prequels because of nostalgia. So I get that.
What did I say? It's not the same for Howard the Duck?
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is.
More people
of course it is.
care about Star Wars prequels than Howard the Duck.
I love Howard the Duck because of my childhood nostalgia. Of course it is. I know it's terrible. Howard the Duck is a terrible movie.
But in terms of the number of people that have watched Howard the Duck versus the number of people that watched the prequels.
Kyle, I can at least admit the movie is terrible where you cannot.
I said it has problems.
No. See, that's different from a movie being terrible. You said it has problems. That means the movie is still good, but has problems. And the reality is, no, it's crap. All of it. The whole thing.
No.
All three.
No.
The only good thing about Phantom Menace is the duel scene, the lightsaber fight between Darth Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. That's it.
Yes,
that's the only thing that's great about it. That's it.
That is a key thing. I'm not denying it's a key thing. It brings a movie. But I say that there is other stuff.
All right. Well, no, I know we got it. That's another topic for another one. But yeah, it's a double-edged sword. The hate grifting sphere, and like Justin said earlier, it's a business model, right? It's kayfabe. They do it on purpose because they know it brings up the numbers.
Oh yeah,
and that's fine. Hey, who am I to get in the way of making your livelihood? If that's what's bringing your food on the table, great, that's fantastic. But just know when times change and no longer are the movies terrible or quote unquote woke, what are you gonna do then? What are you gonna, is it going to continue? You're going to continue doing what you're doing, or are you going to use the influence you do have? And I mean, hell, dude, like I said, Eric July, I thought was the smartest thing he could have done was make his own comic book, because the first comic book raised $3 million.
Yeah.
And he had no experience writing a comic book. And he still raised $3 million because he understood that his fan base was there. And he took, I don't want to say took advantage of it, but he utilized that. And I can't fault him for that. I mean, if I had his subscribe numbers, of course I'd be selling Ghetto Dragon and all my comic books to you guys.
Oh yeah.
And the only difference is I'm not going to shut down when people critique my stuff.
Right.
Like he does. He does not like being critiqued. And again, it's just one of those things that that's just the way he is, and that's fine. But I want to grow. I'm a comic book creator who has a YouTube channel. That's who I am. I'm not a YouTuber who has a product to sell. So that's the difference between me and most other people on YouTube, is that I want my comic book work and writing to be taken a little seriously. I do take my work seriously, and I do want to show you guys that I belong with, Frank Miller and Jim Lee and Chris Claremont and all those people, Alan Moore. I know that's like a big, bold statement.
That's a lot. That's a
but you know what? That's the whole. That should indicate to you guys that that's the level I want to be. I want to get to, and the only way to get to that is hearing the feedback. So
right.
We'll see.
Well, and plus, just in terms of everything else, like if you're gonna try to, especially with these, hate grifters and stuff like that, but if you're coming at it from the standpoint of being a neutral or somewhat critical thinker and stuff like that, but yet, you put out all these things that discredit you, then you're just hurting yourself in the long run, and, people are going to eventually notice, and then it's going to start falling apart. And so it's really for your benefit to be as true as you can, at least to yourself at first, so that way people will understand and follow you for that. At least it's like, okay, well, maybe I don't agree with everything he says, but at least I respect him from that fact.
Yeah, exactly. Halloween says, I don't want to belong with those guys. I want to be at the level where I have to block their calls. I like that. And yeah, and again, if Eric July, Yellow Flash, I respect the fact that they actually are trying to get their own stuff out there to see if they got what it takes. If they're, can they what's the saying? Walk the talk, or what's that? I don't even know.
Walk the walk and talk the talk.
Walk the walk, talk the talk. And so if you spend so much time bashing things, the modern day corporate owned comic books that are out, the modern day movie, the modern day TV show, then, well, hell, write your own TV show then. Right. Or develop your own movie, write your own movie, or write your own comic book then. And so I got to give Eric July and Yellow Flash credit, but to the rest of them, it's like, well, what are you doing?
Right.
You talk about the culture war, right? You talk about they're stealing our culture. Oh my God, we got to do something. Okay, what are you doing other than just being on your show and just complaining about it? Or what comic book are you producing? What movie are you producing? What TV show are you producing to counter it? Like Halloweener said earlier, right? The best critique is to create the alternative.
Right.
Yeah, creating an alternative to what exists is the ultimate critique. 100%. Yeah. And so it's great that people found, like you said, a representative to their voice, and they can stand behind it. And again, like the Henry Rollins quote, F you, I was thinking that. I'm glad you said it. I was thinking that exact same thing.
Remember, the kids, they can't hear the bad language.
Yeah. I caught myself. So that's great, but it can only take you so far. That's why punk music became such a phenomenon, because the kids said, I don't want this classic rock stuff. I want to do this. And it was fast. It was like raw. And that's why it worked, because the Ramones picked up the instruments. It's like, well, do you know how to play? No. Do you know? Well, let's just figure something out. And they figure something out. And the rest is history. That's how you do it. That's how you cultivate a quote unquote new culture. Is you get up, you pick up the tools and you do it. It's one thing, like you said, demolish is one thing. It's easy to demolish something, but it's extremely difficult to build and be an architect to something that you build yourself. So that's all I want to say about that. And I know we only said an hour and we're sticking to it. So that's the end of that show, guys. Find me on X. Oh, real quick. Hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment. Spread the word about this channel. hit the like or dislike or unsubscribe. Makes no difference. No, I'm just kidding. It does.
It does to his ego.
Talking about cultivating the culture, we want to cultivate a culture where we discuss, where we talk about topics, and we look at it as objectively as possible. And of course, have our own opinions and be all good, And see, Halloweener has the right idea. He has the right idea.
Go make your own show.
He has the right idea.
Because we're just a bunch of hate grifters.
And that's what we want to do. What if we already subscribed? Hey, that's why you had the wrench, Freddie. That's why you have the wrench.
Yes. So you can start fixing all the problems.
Yeah, so you could fix the leaks that start to happen on the channel.
Yeah.
And keep me honest too, which is it's always important to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Quick update before we go. I know I posted on X that the printers were for whatever reason delaying our proof copy for Vigilant Fury. So I reached out to them and they shipped it out today. So it's already out and Gambino is going to get it and inspect it. And if everything is good, pulling the trigger and fulfilling. Research Protocol, I'm going to pack all the books up this weekend. So but next week for sure, I'll start to ship out a lot of the backers, the backers copy of Reset Protocol, and onward we go, and hopefully next year is a better year for indie comics and crowdfunding comics. So Kyle, is there any last words you want to say other than build those experiences?
Why you always have to do that? Why can't you just let me say it? Why you have to say it before me? And it takes all the wind out of sails.
Because I'm the host of the show.
But you're right. You're right. I copyrighted it.
Go ahead.
All right. Build those experiences. And read more comics.
That's it? I thought you were going to say more than that.
Your segments are bad.
I know. All right. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. Join us next Wednesday. We're going to have a guest. First time ever. He would be joining us actually, Kyle won't be here.
I won't be here.
LA Comic Con. But I will have a guest on. He's going to be a guest host with me, and we're going to do the same thing that Kyle and I does, and that is talk about a topic and, plug his book in the end. So watch out for that for next week. And before we go, every time I leave you guys, I always want to share a video that's funny, thought-provoking, interesting, maybe whatever. It's anything that I find during the week that's like, all right, cool. I found one. I shared it with Kyle earlier. It was really funny. Porch pirates, as you know, are a problem, right? You get your package from Amazon, and it's very maddening when you look at your camera, your doorbell camera, and you see the person pick up your box and take off, and nothing happens to them, and it's very like, oh, I can't believe they got away with it. This one, I think, is probably the best one I've seen, because it involves someone being very witty and what's the other word? Roasting. It's roasting, they roast this porch pirate so bad that you could tell the porch pirate is very mad that he can't distraught because of how good this guy roasts this guy. So this one's called roasting the porch pirate. So with that said, have a great weekend. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye, guys.
That's why you fat. Look at you, greedy. No, you can have it. You can have it. You got it, brother. You thought it was some snacks in there? Look at you. You can go ahead and take it. It's a big box for a big back. Come on and get it. I know you need it.
I think I was confused, bro.
Oh, I think you hungry. And people act abnormal when they hungry. You've seen a Snickers commercial. Come on and get you a little box. Don't try to run either. I don't want you to have an asthma attack on my porch. Get the box. I know times is hard.
I don't live too far.
I know you ain't walking far. I know you ain't walking far. You ain't got to tell me. Go ahead and get it. Big back, big back. You too big to be a thief. Come on. Come on and get it. At this point, I just want you to get the steps in. You never know. It could be some workout equipment in there. Look at it. Okay. All right. That's what you get.